So let's say we have 0.5 times something, and we add that to 1a. We get 1.5a. Now, can this mean anything, or is it just a process that we're doing where we add the coefficients to get 1.5 and leave the variable as a? Or does this actually have relevant meaning? Well, let's say we have the price of a sweater, and it's $10. So one sweater, 1a, equals 1 times 10. So the sweater is $10. Now, let's say for some reason we have a really high tax rate of 1/2%, of 50% of the price of the item. Well, it's pretty common for people to do 0.5a. In other words, to find what is 0.5 of $10. And they would find out that's $5. And then say, okay, well, I'm paying 50% on this $10 sweater, and that's in tax, so I'm paying the $5 plus the cost of the sweater, or $15. Well, look back at our original equation here. What this is saying, instead of finding 1/2 of a and then adding it to a, we could just do 1.5 times a. We can do it in one step. So if you want to know what the price of a sweater would cost with 50% tax, you could just do 1.5 times the cost of the sweater. And that makes sense. You're taking the full cost of the sweater and adding 0.5 to it. In other words, there's this insight here that these two steps can be put into one because we know the process is to add the coefficients. Let's look at another example. And this actually happened the other day to me at a store. I mean, if you have the cost of an item is $10, tax is more like 0.08. Take two. So let's say the cost of an item is $20, and you know that tax is equal to 5% on the item. There's two ways to go about this. You can do 5% times $20. You can find that in many different ways. I think if 10% of 20 is $2, so 5% has to be half of that, or $1. And then you could say, well, how much is this item going to cost? I have to add these two. I have to add the 20 plus the $1 and get $21, which is really a two-step equation where we're finding 5% and then adding it to the 20 to get the sum. Or, as we said before, well, here we are saying the one item plus 0.05 on that item equals 1.05 times that item. Alright, so we have one whatever, say a sweater at $20 plus 5% of that sweater, which is the tax. But we know that if we're adding these two, we can add the coefficients to get 1.05, and we're saying that this equals this whole process. So instead of finding the 5% tax and then adding to the cost of the sweater, I could just take the cost of the sweater, which is $20, and times that by 1.05, and that will give me, as it says right here, the full cost of one plus 0.05 of the other. So there's kind of observations here. When you're messing around with the numbers and thinking about them algebraically, you might see these kind of insights.